Okay, so the guys on Illusionist asked for it, so we're delivering it. This is the AMA, Ask Madison Anything. So D, I've got you on Skype.
Yes.
Not meeting you in person because every time we do, you force feed me whiskey and cigars.
You have a free choice.
So we're gonna hopefully get this nailed today. We literally had thousands of responses across all of our social media platforms.
It's so overwhelming as well. Like I didn't expect so many questions. I thought all the questions would go to to the Illusionist posts, but then I looked at my own too, and it was really overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I'm surprised no one asked what moves is.
No one cares about moves.
No one cares. Why has no one asked? So, okay, the way we're going to do this, essentially we built a web page, hashtag but what is moves. Everyone's seen it, everyone's been talking about it, where they can tweet along and join in the discussion. So we'll leave that till last, and we're going to take questions from your social media, our social media, stuff that's come to us, and then stuff that's just floating around the ether on that hashtag. Okay. So we got some funny questions, we got some random questions, and we got some really good ones as well.
Yes.
So we'll start with just a trip down memory lane, really. Trippy Magic asks, do you remember that bloke from the session 2015 that gave you his shirt and kissed your shoes?
No, I had no memory of that whatsoever. But next question.
I repressed that one as well.
No. To be fair to him, I remember that very well. It was one of the highlights. And the guys made some incredible videos. And the last one he made was hilarious of Luke Jamay.
Right.
But he did one for me too, and I'm not a big fan of watching magic videos, especially YouTube videos, but this guy, his humor is incredible. So I definitely keep an eye on him. I like that guy. So it was very impressive. He's called Jan, and I apologize for not knowing his surname, but it's called Jan.
Just Google Jan. I'm sure you'll find him.
But yeah, he at the session he had a Daniel Madison t-shirt on, and then he took it off to give me. So he's basically at the convention with no clothes on his upper body, and then he asked me to autograph his chest, which I enjoyed very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a cool guy. He's I like him.
If you'd worked harder in school, you'd be able to sign ladies' chests instead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's just the industry that we're in,
Yeah, very male-orientated.
Yep.
We'll move on swiftly, because that one's... but we'll start off on a light note anyway. So, H. Linda Magic asks, what's your inspiration, and how do you get inspired?
I'm assuming the question is based towards cards and what we do. It's kind of a reversal thing for me, because it's not. I'm inspired by things that have nothing to do with with this industry and what most magicians and what most people with playing cards are inspired by. They look to the industry and they look inwards. They look at people inside the industry. They look at the things that they're doing, and organizations and companies and businesses and communities like Illusionist. And I'm the kind of the opposite. I find it, if you spend too much time in a place, which I do, you tend to find inspiration on the outside, and I guess I've been that way for a long time. So I guess a lot of it comes from music. Like I can't go any days without music. And looking at things. I mean, deception for sure is the reason I'm doing it. So that doesn't just apply itself to magic. I mean, that's just maybe covers 2%. Magic covers maybe 2% of deception as a subject. But yeah, it's a bit strange, because I guess I don't need to be inspired, because it's what it's something that I love doing. So I think if your heart is in what you're doing, then you don't need to be inspired, because your whole life is lived in a very kind of inspiring way. You're inspired by everything that you do. I think the reason I said I look on the outside is because I think if you try and inspire yourself by things within the industry for a magician, then you end up getting a little bit tired and a little bit cold towards it and a little bit resentful because you know too much and you get too close. So you do need other things outside of what you're doing, and I think inspiration comes from very unlikely places. And for me, a lot of it comes from, I say music because it's more about for me, it's more about the lyric and the wording and what people are write about. And no one expresses written words quite like musicians, especially musicians who, of course, write their own music. I don't want to name the people that I'm inspired by because it's a very kind of personal thing. So if I mentioned somebody's name who I was inspired by, another person might hear that name, go to that person, and then find something of a false inspiration just because I told them to go there. It's a very, like, I'm inspired by people that you wouldn't expect because it's a very natural kind of thing. It's a very long answer to a simple question, but it's kind of, yeah, it's an important question. I'm glad you asked that one.
Yeah. I mean, really insightful, especially because, I mean, like you said, when you're constantly sort of projecting into the magic community, it can sort of skew your beliefs and your inspirations a little bit if you're all about magic and you take your inspirations from that. So yes, interesting to know that you should give yourself a bit of a break, and if you are trying to sort of make it in magic, then
and also it's really good for creativity to step outside of the situation in which you're trying to create. So if you're trying to create a magic effect and you're in the magic industry and you're looking at magic things, then you're only going to be inspired by other magic things. Whereas if you go to things that have nothing whatsoever to do with magic to try and create magic, then you'll find completely new and original inspirations and creative kind of ideas. Like, it's amazing how creativity works on the complete opposite of where it's supposed to work or where you think it worked or where you think it would work. You think that you need to get creative in magic by looking at other magicians and looking at other magic tricks, but I've always found it's the complete opposite. If I want to create magic, I get as far away from magic as possible, and then that's when you start. You kind of allow your mind to work completely openly and freely, as opposed to restricted to a magic industry.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Again, another very long and deep answer to a very simple question.
No, yeah, but I'm sure it's one that sort of everyone appreciates you answering. We got one from Miguel Berger who says, could you share with us the meanings and philosophies behind some of your tattoos? Obviously the ones that you don't mind sharing.
I can, yeah, and Miguel, I really like that guy. I met him at the session. He was at the session convention that we just mentioned. He's a really cool guy. Yeah, I mean, it's such a strange thing with tattoos because, you put them on yourself as a way of it kind of expresses. It's like one of the most expressive things that you can do is get a tattoo, especially one that's on show. And like, what's strange about me is all my tattoos are on show. So if I took my t-shirt off, which I'm not going to do, there are no tattoos that
That's actually one of the questions. Should we strike that off the list?
Yeah, let's get rid of that one.
Okay, can you take a t-shirt off? Go on.
They're all there where they can be seen, because I don't think if you're going to get a tattoo that you're going to cover up, what's the point in getting a tattoo? You shouldn't have it. Well, it's just for you. It doesn't make any sense. So it's one of the most expressive things you can do, but in a very strange and kind of I'm not sure what the word is, but although it's the most expressive thing, I think most of my tattoos are a lot of them are very secretive, and I don't really like sharing about what they are because they're very personal. So it's a bit strange that I've expressed all this stuff that I don't want to talk about right on my body and right out there. But I believe it's kind of your mind printed on your body, and I see it as a little bit like a diary. Like, even if you get a tattoo that one day you'll hate and you regret, you can't get rid of that memory and the fact that you went through that situation. It was a part of your history and it was part of what you went through. And it's like I've heard so many tattoo artists saying things like, "Don't get a partner's name in case in many years' time you split up with them." Even if that did happen for anyone in the world, it still happened in your life, so it's still very relevant. So it should be there, you know. But as for explaining some of them, I'll explain a few. One of my latest ones is this here, which is well, it's Latin, and that comes from Bill Kalush gave me this idea, and it's something that I've always said about the methods behind magic tricks, which is by any means necessary, and that's what that tattoo means. So it means basically forget how you achieve the trick, or forget how you achieve what you're doing. You just make it happen, whatever it takes. Doesn't matter if you use 10 different sleight of hand techniques or one simple gimmick to achieve the same thing. You do whatever it takes to get what you want, basically. So that's that one. I'm looking around trying to figure out which else. This is one of my. I like this one. This stands for "You Can't Kill Me, Motherfucker." Which I think you've got to have some humor amongst the seriousness, you know. But yeah, I mean, they're all, most of them are quite self-explanatory, and you know, yeah.
I like it. I'm going to take in a change of direction. We've got one from Ashen4th on Instagram. Probably a bit of advice, really, and this goes into your years of experience. Whenever he performs, people stare at his cards instead of, and he can be talking. He says, even though I'm talking to them, any ideas? So, like, how would he get them to not burn his hands or to pay attention to him rather than the deck?
I think that it sounds like a very kind of personal issue with him, and I think it just sounds to me about the way he's performing. I find it a bit strange giving advice on performing because I don't do it too much, but when it comes to things like that, a lot of people, if people are staring at his hands and his cards, and maybe he's suggesting to them somehow that, you know, there's trickery going on, you know, so they're looking for it, they're looking to catch him out on what he's doing. And I don't know, maybe I think a lot of performers, especially like when people first start out, they don't put enough attention into their personality and into their character, and they don't realize that this little thing is just a tool to help somebody experience something. So it's a difficult question to answer without knowing that guy. You know, maybe if I knew him and saw him perform, I'd have a better answer. But I don't know. I think performing is more about the person than what they're doing. You know.
Yeah. I mean, do you show skill when you perform? Because Subs Magic asks, many magicians say don't show skill because it takes away from the magic. I noticed that a lot of magicians don't show skill because then people burn their hands more. So it might tie in quite nicely. I mean, do you show skill when you...
I think it's very important for magicians to hide the skill. I think that's one of the main things for a magician, is to hide the skills. So it bothers me to see magicians doing gambling demonstrations, because and flourishing demonstrates skill. So does gambling. Magic isn't about the skill whatsoever. It's not about how you're handling the cards or what you do with the cards. It's about the what happens at the end. And if from the start to the finish, if between the start and the finish you're showing the incredible skill, then you're taking something away from the magic. Like I've always preached, and whenever I have performed magic, I've always stuck to the philosophy that I'm terrible with playing cards, and you know, and the same applies for gambling for different reasons. But I'm terrible. I'm not good with playing cards. I do messy shuffles. I've practiced messy shuffles so much that my best shuffles look messy. But that's for different reasons to do with gambling. But I think magicians should employ that same idea, because they don't want to look like skillful people in terms of the way they can handle and manipulate things. It's so much more impressive and impactful if a person can just turn up and say, "Oh, let me show you this. Look, watch this." And instead of doing a big fan and then a card jumps out and they catch it, you know, if they just say, "Oh, look, shuffle these. It doesn't matter. Shuffle them. Take one." You know, if it's that very kind of normal and expected as a human being, not as a magician, but normal expected actions of a human being handling a deck of playing cards, as opposed to an expert or somebody who does handle playing cards.
That's something that a lot of magicians do, isn't it? They're a normal person, and then they go into like magician mode.
Yeah, and I think the magician mode kills the magic. I think if a normal person shows somebody an incredible magic trick, the moment of magic is increased so much. Whereas if it's the magician with a top hat and I can fan a deck of playing cards and I've got sponge rabbits and all that shit. If it's just a normal person who's just an everyday person and says, "Oh, let me show you something interesting," then the magic becomes as real as it possibly could, depending on the trick and skill, of course.
Like when I always see magicians go, "Oh, it's normal deck of cards, normal deck of cards," and that like over-proving just puts doubt in everyone's head. Then they're like, "Well, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, how would I know what a trick deck of cards looks like?"
Nothing in my hands, honestly.
Yeah. See, there's nothing there. Okay, so James Illusionist asks, "I've disposed of the head, but any ideas where I should hide the rest of the body?"
If anything, I think the head is something you either keep or it's the last thing you get rid of.
Yeah.
The rest of it's kind of. I thought that was the easy part. Maybe I've got it the wrong way around. I don't know.
It's all downhill after the body. You should have done the body first.
Yeah, I think if anything, you keep the head.
Yeah. Silly. He'll learn. This is the reason we're doing this AMA, just so he knows.
Yeah.
Okay, Instagram. Okay. This is literally 1, 2, 3. At least 5 people have asked this, which is, out of all of the decks of cards that you've put your name to or put your stamp on or developed over time, which is your absolute favourite?
White Rounders.
White Rounders.
Yeah.
Any reasons?
Yeah, that was the deck I always wanted. Like when I had the idea in mind for, like when Players came around, there were other people involved in Players, so like my creative direction was compromised and you know there were a lot of changes that happened, and I was happy with the Players, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then when the Rounders came along, I was given like Brad was so good to give me like full control over the deck, and excuse me, the white Rounders were always in my mind. It was always a deck that I wanted, but then I thought about everybody else. I thought like selflessly and thinking, you know, although it's my kind of favorite idea for a design, it's not necessarily going to be everybody else's. But the design still kind of, I knew that it'd still work. So I went black with the idea of going white on the next one. Just to give somebody a normal looking deck of playing cards. The black one, I mean. Because the black one looks like a casino deck. It looks like an acceptable, normal deck of cards. Like you could see that deck in a shop and it looks like a deck of cards. Whereas the white deck, it's very different because there's only 2 tiny bits of ink on it, and as far as I know, that's like one of the first times that's ever happened where it's all white apart from 2 images. I remember seeing a casino doing the same idea, but their logo was quite big, so their logo did pretty much fill the back. But yeah, so I made them black, despite what I wanted, but for everybody else. So I decided to go black. Give people what I believe they would like, and from there I would eventually get to the white. So the next idea came along, and by then I was so in love with the white deck that I thought maybe I'll just keep it and then one day print them for myself.
Yeah.
So we went with the brown and then the blue. We were going to do green, but around that time we decided to just stop. Well, I decided I didn't want to do any more decks because I was getting fed up of seeing, the M logo in different positions in different sizes. And then so I decided I'll just end this period in my life with a deck of playing cards with the final one, which would be the one that I wanted to start with. So I ended with the one that I wanted to start with, which was a really nice feeling, especially when I got hold of them and they were everything that I expected.
Yeah,
perfect.
Quite poetic.
Yeah, perfect quality, perfect looking. The box is just something I'll put on my table just so every now and then you look at it and it's kind of a reminder of, sometimes the greatest idea that you want to start with can be the last idea that you come up with, And I think that's what happened with the Rounder series. So it's not just my favorite because it looks nice. So I think it looks nice, but there's a kind of a story there to it. But yeah, the White Rounders by miles my favorite.
Do they make an appearance on moves without giving what moves is away?
Yes.
Yes.
Apart from right now, I'm using green dealers right now. But apart from right now, on my desk, I only use White Rounders, and I use them in moves too.
Sweet.
I went through a silly fact. I joined the film in the moves. I think I went through about 6 decks of White Rounders, which is I don't know why I mentioned that, but
did you keep any of them?
I did. Yeah, I've got them all.
Are you gonna sign them up maybe in the future?
I was thinking maybe it might be special for somebody who really likes moves to maybe have a chance to get hold of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean K. Sutton is trying to catch us out. He says, "What isn't moves?" Through the power of deduction, he's going to try and work out what it is.
Okay, it's not me dancing.
That's come up a lot.
Yeah, I'm not dancing. It's not flourishing. I don't flourish or do cardistry. What else is it not? It's not nothing to do with gardening.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with you moving house, which is another thing.
Yeah, I'm not moving. Or I'm not helping people move house. It's not about bowels.
Yeah. There's a lot that it isn't about.
Yeah, we could go on for hours talking about what.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe what we'll do is because what we're going to try and do is do like a speed hour, so 60 minutes. Try and get through as many questions as possible. Maybe the last question will be, but what is moves?
Okay.
And I'll let you answer that, and we'll just nicely tie this off in a bow.
So we are going to reveal what moves is?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
I think. So just so everyone knows exactly what all the hype is about, what everyone's been talking about, what all the pros have been watching and loving and tweeting and Instagramming about. So
cool.
We'll save that to the end. So hopefully everyone will stick with us. Okay, so I'm going to change from Instagram questions now over to Facebook. And I'll start with the top comment on Facebook. So it's top voted by our fans, which was, if one were to leave a baby on your doorstep, would you raise that child to become your apprentice?
No.
No.
I'd probably call the appropriate organisation.
Yeah, child services.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a strange question. If it were a dog, then it'd be a different story.
Yeah,
I love dogs. I absolutely love dogs. So leave a dog on my doorstep and it's mine. You'll never see it again. You'll see it in my garden from time to time.
You know what happened there? Through your PO box, you're just going to get sent like 50 dogs.
I don't mind.
Question that a lot of people are asking: how many decks do you own? Do you even keep count?
Yeah, it's kind of an unknown number because I use a deck a day. So when the deck's used, it gets thrown out. So it's a constantly moving number, you know.
Yeah.
So there's no real answer. I mean, I don't collect playing cards. I do have like a case full of cards that I do like, but I've from time to time I've gone to that case and got rid of the cards, like because I always think, you know, what's the point in having a deck of playing cards that you're not going to use, you know, like collector's decks. I'm quite fortunate with some of the friends that I've got, and to tie in with this question, I've had a few decks of Jerry's Nuggets directly from Michael Weber, and when he gives them to me, he takes the wrapper off, he takes the deck out, and he shuffles it up, and he shuffles and bends them, and then says, "Right, keep using it," because his idea is the same as mine in a way. Like, what's the point in keeping a deck sealed in its plastic, sat on your shelf, and the idea of someone thinking, "Oh, I'll keep that," and in a few years it'll be worth a lot of money. You know, I don't really care about money. I'm not bothered too much about as long as I can have a deck of cards in my pocket. You know, I'm happy. So what's the point in having this rare deck of playing cards sat on a shelf being unappreciated? You know, playing cards were designed to be used. So, I mean, in that box that I have there are no Jerry's Nuggets because I use playing cards, and I don't care about the value. So I like them because of the story that's behind them, but I don't care about keeping them because of like monetary value. Personal value is more important to me. Like I was given a deck of playing cards, and it was. Can I tell this story? I was given a deck of playing cards like years ago, and it belonged to somebody who meant a lot to me. I really looked up to, and it was a crappy used deck of playing cards, and that's one of the decks I kept. And it's not even a special deck; it's just the fact that this person used it and wanted me to have it.
Yeah,
that's more valuable than you know a deck. So to answer that question, how many decks? There's no number really. I mean, I have decks that I've designed and you know we've sold at Illusionist, and I get a share of them. And as soon as I get them, I send them to friends and send them to people and stuff. And I always make sure I've got enough for me to just use and use and use. So I'm always kind of buying playing cards in. I buy my own playing cards as well. Like I buy my own in, just so that I've got them to use. You know. But yeah, I don't think people need collections. If you use playing cards and you practice with playing cards, you shouldn't know what number that is because you should be constantly opening them and using them, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got now dubbed as the Madison cupboard, which is a cupboard in my house where you just keep giving me decks of playing cards.
Yeah, because I mean, what's the point in me having playing cards in my garage, just sat there doing nothing? I'd rather people were using them, you know.
Yeah,
it feels good to me to give people playing cards because I know they're going to use my playing cards and they're going to appreciate them, and then they're going to appreciate them a little bit more because they were given, you know, to them, you know, from me. So
yeah,
I don't know, one of those things.
So we got one from Farhan Nadim. Have you ever been caught by a spectator?
Yes. Oh yeah, plenty of times.
How do you shake that off? Do you throw the deck on the floor and run?
Yeah, it usually ends in violence. No, I don't think you should try and avoid that. I think it's one of the most valuable ways of learning. You know, if you get caught doing something that you shouldn't be doing, then you learn so much about what you were doing. There's that saying that I love from Mark Twain said it. He says, there are things that you learn from swinging a cat by its tail that you could not learn any other way. And I think you should apply that to everything, and especially with magic. You learn so much about performing by getting things wrong and people catching you out. Like with a gambler's cop, I got caught out with that like early on. And it makes you think and it makes you study more. Like some guy will say, I can see that card in your hand. So then I'm like, oh fuck, so I'm doing something wrong. So then you study what they saw. You think, how did they see it? Because I thought in my head he couldn't see it, but he could. And then you learn new things that you couldn't learn in the mirror. you know.
Yeah.
So getting caught is yeah, fail, 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 fail. You know, I love, especially early on in Magic, I loved getting things wrong and failing because it was the biggest teacher. You learn so much from getting things wrong. You shouldn't try and avoid getting things wrong, and you shouldn't be down, or you shouldn't be upset when you get caught, because you know it's the biggest teacher, and you should really kind of understand and appreciate and learn to love the idea of somebody catching you out. If anything, like when my gun was caught, I just to see how far I could push it, I used to hold it up in front of people's faces and put it in places where it shouldn't have been, just to see how far I could go and get away. And I used to get caught. I used to get caught holding it up and like tapping someone on the shoulder, and then I go, okay, so people saw that. Why did they see that? And then
Yeah.
you learn from there. You know, like you don't get anywhere without those kind of risks. And moves revolves around that whole idea of risk. Like it revolves around this one big idea that is a massive risk that I've learned in this very way by doing and getting caught. I've been caught doing this move enough times to become perfect at it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of the things I actually say in moves is you're not gonna get this, you're not gonna get away with it straight away. You gotta get it wrong, you've gotta learn your uncles by doing it and getting it wrong. So yeah, it's the biggest teacher of all is failure.
It's really interesting because a lot of people would, I mean, we get a lot of, I don't know, people begging for help and advice, or maybe dismissing magic tricks on illusionist, or dismissing sleights and things when they say, oh, I tried this and someone caught me, it didn't work. And they sort of dismiss that as, right, that must be a rubbish trick because I was caught. I'll perform something easy.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you, if you were going to say to somebody, or give them some advice based on that, like, would you say design a repertoire until they're confident with failing, or should they throw themselves in the deep end with the hardest material, move monkey stuff first, and then backtrack to the simpler things?
I think you got to find a good balance. Like there's got to be a good mixture. Like me personally, I never go for the easy stuff because there's very little reward from an easy thing. Like you can learn a very easy magic trick. A non-magician can go to a magic shop. Excuse me. A non-magician can go to a magic shop and say to the guy at the counter, I want to amaze somebody tonight. I have no experience in magic whatsoever. He can show them a trick that they can learn in 2 minutes. They can go to a party and completely amaze somebody that night. Excuse me, my throat's bad. In the long run, that person's going to do so bad. Because they're not learning from the experience of actually doing that thing, you know. So when it comes to somebody buying a trick from, say, Illusionists to download or whatever, it's the exact same thing. They buy the trick shows you what you can achieve. So the trick, let's say you go to Illusionist and you see a video trailer for a trick, they buy it, they go away, it didn't work, they come back and complain, and they say, oh, it didn't work, it's rubbish. And they judge it based on their experience, but they don't judge it based on themselves and their own ability and capability of performing and executing it correctly in the correct way. So I will clear my throat before the end of this call. But yeah, so I think it's all about that person, and if they have a problem with what they've invested in, not purchased but invested in, if they have a problem with it, then the problem is with them, not with what they've invested in.
Yeah.
You know, if it's gone wrong, they need to go back to it and back to themselves and ask themselves, why didn't this work for me? Companies like, and businesses and communities and places like Illusionist, we don't just put tricks out and downloads out on a whim. We choose the stuff that works. We put the things out that works. We know that it works because we do it. We've done it. Everything's been tested. So if it doesn't work for somebody, it's down to them, I think. And I think instead of going online and going somewhere and saying, "Oh, it's rubbish," and just dismissing it because it wasn't easy enough, they need to think, why didn't it work? What am I doing wrong? Because everything's there for them. You know, the explanation's there, mechanics, the techniques. So they've got to go in and ask themselves, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Sorry. And I think responsibility is a huge thing in life, not just in tricks, but taking responsibility for the fact that it went wrong. Nobody likes to admit that they did something wrong, or they don't like to take blame for something going wrong. So the easiest thing to do is to say, this trick is rubbish because it didn't work, instead of taking responsibility and saying, what can I do to make this trick work? What am I doing wrong? And I think that's where a lot of magicians, you know, that's where they become magicians, because they don't take responsibility. They rely on their tricks rather than themselves.
I mean, I see a lot of, in quotes, professionals, that their first question is, how easy is this trick to perform?
Yeah.
And which touches on what you said, and then also goes back to that tattoo, by any means necessary. I think, like, if you want to be a magician, expect to put the years in. If you want to be a gambling cheat, expect to put the years in.
Yeah.
And not, you shouldn't be asking, how easy is it? You should be asking, how can I do that too?
Yeah, it's like,
and it should be by any means necessary. If the trailer fools you and you can fool everyone else equally, then the method's the least important thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it should be by, like a tattoo says, by any means necessary. If that's the effect that you want to go and perform, then, like you said, put the time in. It's not a problem. It's a question of, are you dedicated enough to sort of follow through with it?
Like, I'm not a fan of seeing the when you buy a product in our industry, I'm not a fan of seeing the difficulty level thing, you know, like the 5-star thing. Like, if it's 5-star difficulty, it means it's very difficult. If it's 1-star, it means it's easy. I don't like that, because it shouldn't matter how difficult it is. It shouldn't matter. Like, you just judge the trick by what it is. If you're impressed by it, if you like it, I don't like the word impressed neither, but if you like it and it makes you want to do it, the last thing you should care about is how easy it is. Because it shouldn't matter how difficult it is. I think tricks that rate themselves as easy, it's almost like a sales technique to say, buy me, buy me, buy me. But in another way, it's almost, I don't know, it shouldn't, I don't believe it should be that. If a trick's good enough, if an idea is that good, it shouldn't be rated based on how easy or difficult it is. It should be based on just what it is. It should be, what you see is what you get. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to do. And if you can do magic, and if you have the skills, and if you have what it takes to learn from this video or from whatever the product is, then you will do this. It doesn't matter how difficult it is.
Yeah. I mean, it touches on sort of difficulty. I remember your lecture at the session, which concentrated on sort of one of the principles of moves. And as soon as everyone heard the method, after they didn't catch it, the entire room gasped. So they went, because they were shocked that no one saw it, that you got away with it, that it was that bold. And then when it came to explaining it, there was a lot of people sort of chatting between themselves. Oh, no, you'd never do that, you'd never do that. Yet you've just done it for a room of 200 magicians and got away with it.
Yeah, and that,
so,
and that what you mentioned is that it goes back to, it relates to the other questions too, because that one thing, that didn't just happen overnight. It took a failure, practice. It took time and time and time to get to the point where I could achieve it in front of a room of I don't know how many people there, but in front of a room full of people, knowing that it'd fly past everybody. It didn't just I didn't just decide, oh, I might try this. You know, it was years, it was time, it was effort, and it was learning from failing that put me in that position to do that. You know. So, for the people who see who are amazed by it or impressed, and they see it and they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that!" Like, because for me, exposure, I love the exposure, because I love the idea behind difficult slides. I'm obsessed with difficult slides, and for somebody to see something and love it, and then find out the method's too difficult, and then say, "Oh no, you would never get away with that. You never do that." Then that's kind of giving in. Because I'm kind of that lecture that you just said was proof that the difficult things that people think you can't do in real life, you can if you put the time and effort in. You know, it's that there's a saying like everywhere is walking distance if you have the time. You know, I could walk to London. It's walking distance. It'd take me probably 2 days to walk there, but it's still walking distance. It's all about, you know, perspective and, you know, what you're willing to put in.
Saying.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite quote, or have you got many?
Yeah, I've got tons. You know, like when you hear jokes, and then you can't remember them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so many jokes you can't remember them. I'm like that with quotes that inspire me. Like they all rush and it's all like a cloud, so I can't think of them. But yeah, I like something that Sage Francis said, and he says it's got lust for life and a death wish. I really like that because it's kind of it shows a perfect balance. You got lust for life and a death wish, so you kind of accurately between both, and it's like it's a peaceful place. The love to live and then the wish to die. That's always stuck with me for some reason. I don't
know. Let's see. A few more questions. While I find a suitable one that isn't like George Mendina's "Can I lick your forehead?" Can you answer this instead? When?
Yeah, up until the point where you said the word "for." Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one as well, which is again George Medina. Can you send me a clipping of your hair via Skype?
A clipping of my hair.
This is the reason why I love the internet, because that comment is in its own right funny, but then 5 other people have seen that as good enough to go and like that.
Okay.
Like they've gone and 5 other people have been like, do you know what? I actually want to get that answered.
So he wants some of my hair through Skype.
Yeah, I'm not sure the parameters of the delivery of the hair. Like, I don't know whether you post it to him and you say, ugh, no, I asked for it through Skype.
Yeah, this is a strange one. If it were possible, I probably would.
Say no. Maybe we'll send him a photo. George, email support with your email address. We'll send you a photo. Okay, when do you ditch an idea? So when do you develop an idea to a certain point, and this is off our Facebook, where you get caught too many times where you think, oh, actually, maybe it's not a good idea after all? Or do you stick with your ideas and develop them over years? Like, is there a breaking point for you, a point where you just cut it off and say, it's probably not a good idea?
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I've got like a throat thing going on. This is going to sound. It will sound a little bit arrogant, but it really isn't. Like I found I got to a point where if I've got an idea that I'm going to pursue, then I know there's no way that I'm going to give it up. Because if I'm going to think of a stupid idea that's not going to work, then I'm an idiot, you know. And I'm not an idiot, so I'm not going to think of an idea that I'm going to practice for 10 years, and then 10 years later I'm going to say, oh, I was wrong, it can never work. I'm smart enough to know what can and can't work. And I think you need to get yourself to that point. You need to find, and it sounds very arrogant, and I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just saying, if you think that you can make this house that I'm in levitate off the ground, and you're going to put years and years into it, then you're an idiot. Because, you know, physics and the laws of magic and the laws of your creativity, or the limits of your creativity, will tell you that the only way you're going to do that is with stupid, age-old, theatrical stage magic or video editing. You know, so as soon as you have an idea, as a magician, as a creator, your mind should instantly go, this, or this. These are your 3 options. Or no, it's not going to happen. Like if I wanted to, I'm going to snap right now, I'm going to snap my fingers and I'm going to turn into a cow. Right? I might be able to.
That's what she said.
Yeah, right. The snap though usually takes 12 hours. But if I could do that, if I wanted to do that, maybe there's a way. But it's just illogical and it's silly. So you have to have a way of judging and deciding what is possible in your world, not in the real world. Because we're working in a world of achieving the impossible. So you have to understand the parameters of that as a concept. So you have to understand what you can and cannot achieve within the world of magic and within your world of creativity and your capability within that world. Like if I wanted to, like let's say I did want to make this house levitate. If I had millions, I could probably do it. I could dig underneath, I could hire a whole crew and I can make it work. By any means necessary, but that comes down to money. So I guess it's about variables and what you're capable of versus your resources. So you need an understanding. If you spend years and years trying to achieve something that's impossible and you never achieve it, then I think that's your fault. You're to blame. It reminds me of something a hitman. Where was this from? I can't remember. Hitman turns up at someone's door to kill him. Guy opens the door. Oh, no, Ed. He says, if I turn up at your door with a gun to your head, the chances are you did something to bring me there.
Yeah.
It's kind of relevant. Like you should know. You should know.
That's from a movie.
Yeah, it is from a movie. I just can't remember. Oh, yeah, Gross Point Blank. You should know the limits and you should know what's going to happen, based on your decisions. Again, I'm answering these questions like in the longest way. I'm trying to.
No, but I'm sure everyone's mind has just exploded with like creativity because this was when, and touching on that point, like for me, this is when magic broke down. Do you remember Infusion by Guy Brutal?
Yes.
The Coin Through Glass?
Yeah.
I bought that DVD. I was like, it was the best trick that I'd seen. I was like 16 years old. I bought the DVD, watched it, and on the DVD, he says, "Don't be so stupid. There's only one way that coin's getting in the glass. Magic is making it look like it doesn't do that."
Yeah.
And like, and that therein lies creativity. Is like you either, whether it's like a coin through glass or card vanish or whatever. Going back to like what you're saying is. For everyone you're breaking down, there's certain parameters to real life. You either make it look like that, or you abide by that and make it look like magic.
Yeah.
So I think everyone else, I bet everyone's running off now with a notepad and going, "Oh, yeah, I've got 50 different ideas."
Yeah.
And you'll see on like YouTube now, young magician makes house float.
Young magician makes Madison's house float.
Yeah, young millionaire magician.
Yeah, young millionaire.
Good one from Ash Russ Biss, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Says, "What is your objective in life?"
I have no idea what that question means.
I think he's trying to say like, what are you working towards? Like, what is your?
I'm kidding. Yeah.
To make your house float.
Yeah, I would like my house to float, and then. Just as that's happening, when everybody thinks that's the trick, I'll turn into a cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
You'll go back and lick George Medina's forehead.
Yeah, no, that's pretty deep, yeah. Because he wanted to lick mine.
No, he asked 5 comments down if you could just lick his instead.
Oh, he wants me to lick his. Okay.
Yeah, he waited about 20 minutes and just changed his entire... He was like, "Oh, go on then, I'll settle."
Okay. I'm not sure what's in it for me, to be honest.
Neither am I. We'll gloss over it. Good luck, George.
But yeah, to briefly answer that question, objective in life. Every ambition I've ever set for myself, I've achieved. So, I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. I don't have ambitions because I've had ambitions and I've achieved them all. So. Right now, I'm in a comfortable place where I've achieved everything I ever wanted to. So maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and have another ambition, and then I'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. There's no point like having an ambition and spending your life thinking, "Oh, one day No, not one day. Not one day. Today. It's not
Yeah,
one day. You do it. You do it now, or you don't do it. There's no point sitting there
motivational.
saying, "Oh, one day." So I
I
don't
mean,
know.
do you, for advice then for everyone out there? I mean, because that is obviously quite inspiring for them. Do you have any recommendations that you want to tip on books or influential figures, like businessmen or books from authors
Um,
that
I,
could
I
help them?
I think that's a loaded question. um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I books, but like, and you know what books they are, G. But
Yeah, no,
for like
but
personally me, I don't like sharing that kind of stuff like books particularly. Did I say it right? Yeah, I did.
yeah.
Um,
So if we were going to
because
say like a category, then if they were looking for a category, or even maybe just the benefit, if we want to take it away from authors,
yeah, okay,
is
yeah,
there
yeah,
a benefit?
okay. So I mean, you and me share books, and you know what books I read. I know what books you read, but I always see that as I see books as such a personal thing that I've gained such insight and personal like life lessons from books that they've become like a part of me to a point where I've got them tattooed on me. I won't point them out,
Yeah,
but I've got books tattooed all over me, and to share them, I'd feel so bad. I'd feel so guilty because it was such a personal experience when I read that book and what it did to me. That
yeah,
it was between me and the book, not me sharing it with the world and expecting everybody else to have that same experience. But yeah, certainly I think touching back on that subject of being inspired by things on the outside of magic, when it comes to books, I think what magicians should look into is the fact that what they're doing and what they're trying to do is become a business or run a business, but they never see it that way. They just think, I want to become a magician. I want to get on TV. I want to make money as a magician. So the answer to that is be good at magic and keep doing magic. No, that's not how it works. You have to
yeah,
understand business. You have to understand how business works and how to get from one place to another in a business sense, not as in a magician doing a trick, but you got to look at the structure and mechanics of businesses and working your way up in that sense rather than being good at card tricks. I'm not good at card tricks. I'm not good at magic. I'm not good at flourishing. I'm not even good at gambling to a certain point, but I'm good at certain things. I've got certain skills which have got me to where I am. They're not necessarily exclusive to magic, but they're skills nonetheless. I think a lot of magicians just think, I'll just do magic and good magic, and I'll do well in life as a magician.
yeah,
Like I was a stockbroker for a long time before everything like this happened, and like becoming a stockbroker isn't just about knowing maths. There's a ton of other skills that go with it, and just like any other profession, an accountant isn't just good at maths or adding up. Authors aren't just good at writing. Psychologists aren't just good at knowing about psychology, and it's the same with magic. But for some reason, magicians don't seem to understand that there's more to magic than magic. They just think magic, magic, magic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly how I feel as well. I'll take a few more from Facebook and try and get like a few yes or no's from you. Um,
I,
quick
I will try
question.
my best to yes or no because I just talk, talk, talk.
Oh no, no, but that's good. I mean, I bet everyone watching's sort of loving having their questions answered. This has been asked like 3 or 4 times, which is when are these coming out?
Um,
Revolvers. So for those who don't know what these are, revolvers.
it's not. It's not.
So yeah, it's not when are they coming out? Are they ever coming out?
Yes,
Cool.
that's a
We'll
yes
leave that
answer.
one
So
there.
yeah, okay. My first yes answer. Happy with that one.
And let's find another one. This is not a yes or no question. we got one from a guy that's sort of just started following us on Twitter. So he's brand new to Magic, and has pretty much now joined in on the hashtag to ask whether or not we can point him in the right direction. So he says, which collection or video from Illusionist do you recommend as the best to learn sleight of hand for a beginner illusionist? Which goes back to our original question, which is easy or hard moves first. So which of your DVDs or which DVDs or books out there?
I think based on that question, he's asking specifically for illusionists, and he also used the word illusions, so he's not specifically looking for sleight of hand. I would say, in his position, I would direct him towards the ninja projects, which are like the really, I was going to say really old, but that's kind of insulting, but they're the older, and they're kind of the foundation of illusionist. They're like Brad Christian teaching ways to start and tricks that you can do as a, not a novice or a beginner, but as a newcomer. And also there's so much insight into, you'll figure out so much from those projects other than just tricks, and they will lead you down so many different paths. Like as a newcomer, I certainly wouldn't recommend something really heavy or something really deep and something really hard. Although I say don't avoid that thing, I think wisely as a beginner, the ninja projects, which Brad Christian did, are a really, really important place to start. So look into those, definitely.
Ninja 3 coming out anytime soon?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
I do. I know that, yeah. I know Ninja 3. I know I know all I can say about Ninja 3 is Ninja 3.
Ninja 3. That was actually one of the questions on Facebook as well. Ninja 3 question mark?
And the answer is Ninja 3.
It's just Ninja 3 as well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you weren't a magician, what do you think you'd be? That's a question from Jesse Armstrong on our But What Is Moves page.
I don't consider myself a magician, so I'm me.
Yeah, you'd be Daniel Madison.
Yeah.
Nailed it. This is one that we've spoken about before, but obviously Woody asks, not Woody from Toy Story, Woody99 or Woody G99 on Twitter.
Yeah.
Says, and the intro is perfect. Moves is a project that Madison just finished with over 20 moves. Do you have best friends? If yes, who?
I know this guy. I don't know him personally, but I know who he is. He's a good guy. Best friends. I don't. We did have this conversation. I don't categorize friends. I think it's appalling that people categorize friends. Because if you say, oh, let's say you're out with two people, right? You go out, there's three of you. You go out with two people. One of them's your best friend. The other one's your friend.
Yeah.
Right? What is that? What does that mean? You're categorizing those two people. You're like, you've got levels for those people. I think for me, you're a friend or you're not. And if you're not a friend, you're just a friend that isn't a friend yet.
Yeah.
You know, and if you, I don't know, it gets too deep if I keep talking, but yeah, I have friends, colleagues, and then people I don't know. You know, and pretty much everyone I know is a friend. I have very few colleagues. Like my accountant is my colleague, for example.
Yeah.
He's
my friend.
I have a lot of friends. I have too many friends, which is a very negative thing to say. But I'm blessed to have as many friends as I have. Like some days I can spend a whole day just getting back to friends and just keeping up with friends. And I think it's a really good and positive place to be in life. You know, forget work and forget troubles and things. As long as you've got friends and people that you can talk to and people that you can get in touch with and people who can talk back to you and understand where you are in life. So yeah, I'm very fortunate to have friends. I have a lot of friends and I'm very fortunate and I don't take a single one of them for granted.
Awesome. Okay, potentially new friend Casey Allen asks, what are the SWE cards, and do they have anything to do with moves?
This is a project that I don't really want to keep secret because I'm so excited about it. Nothing to do with moves, but it's a deck in the Madison Presents series. SWE deck, you can probably figure out what deck it is. So it's like an Erdnase deck. And I've always wanted to do an Erdnase deck. When I saw one of the first Erdnase decks ever, the box itself, I was praying that the deck would look like the box, and it didn't. And it kind of let me down a bit. So that idea always stuck in my head, and I spoke to all the people who have put Erdnase decks out, or Erdnase related decks out, and shown them this idea just to make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. And everybody who's seen it so far loves it, and and I'm not just saying this, but this one is my all-time favorite in the Madison Presents project because it's so simple, and the idea's been there for so many years. And all of a sudden, when Madison Presents came along, it had like a vessel. It had a way of being released and becoming reality. The box, the back, the faces, everything about it's just Erdnase, and I absolutely love it. There's new faces in it. The box is beautiful. The back of the cards are beautiful. It's green, and I'm making a trailer for it. So I'm going to film a video of me with the cards, like next week from now. So eventually you'll get to see the cards. But I'm really excited to get a hold of these and get them out to people. So
Awesome. I can't wait for these as well.
No hype on this one. I'm telling everything. I'm spilling my guts on these ones.
Yeah. We'll probably take like 2 more and then we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
So Sebastian Stephen asks, what do you think about people that try and imitate your style? I don't think he means style of magic. I think he means sort of fashion sense.
Okay, I think it's yeah. I think it's good. I like it. I mean, it's a compliment, if anything. It's kind of what's that saying?
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yes, I can kind of understand that saying because it's happened a bit to me. And I don't mind it, to be honest. I mean, I don't condone it. I don't think it's something that I wouldn't go and say, hey, oh, everybody be like me and do what I'm doing. I think, if anything, I've got more respect for people who are completely original and completely different. Like look at like my friends are a list of people who look nothing like me and are from completely different backgrounds and you know they don't look a thing. They don't do what I do, and they don't talk like I do. I have more respect for people who can be original, but it doesn't mean that being inspired and wanting to aspire to that kind of person doesn't mean that's a bad thing. You know, everybody wants to be inspired, and some people take that in different ways. So they look at somebody who they look up to and think, I want to be like that person. So they make themselves look like that person, act like that person, do what that person does, believing that it brings them close to that person, and also in the deeper part makes them think that they'll get the same that they have. They'll achieve the same thing. It's a very deep psychological idea, but I do believe that's kind of where it comes from. Although the first part is kind of true, it makes them look like that person, so they get a lot of attention for it. You get attention for saying, "Oh, you look like this guy." So then it's something inside them goes, "Yay, yes," and it's like a tiny achievement.
Yeah.
On the other hand, somebody who imitates another person, let's say the person is here who they're imitating, and they're somewhere below there, right? They're imitating that person, and they get attention, so they go up and up and up. all the attention they get in the world will go up. It'll never go above this. It'll never
Yeah.
get above this level. So all they'll ever be known as is an imitator and somebody
Yeah.
who copies somebody else. Surely, brainlessly, without even thinking, surely it's better to be original than to be a copy. Surely it is. I mean, to me, that's simple. Why the hell would I want to look like somebody else? I do everything.
Yeah.
I do everything in the world to be unique and to be me. I don't want to look like a single person on this planet. I want to look like me. So that other person who's copying not copying, but being inspired by what I do and my styles, I think to myself, why don't they think that? Why don't they do what I did? If they want to copy me, copy that lesson, copy the lesson in be original. I don't want anyone on this planet to look like me. That's what they should copy. Not the image, and not the style, but the lesson itself. Be original, Look like the only one of you on this earth, I'm not going to bump into somebody else in all my lifetime who looks like me or has what I have in terms of image and things.
Okay, cool. I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people as well in sort of maybe thinking about developing their own style and not just being...
Originality is the answer, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so got a lot of people saying on this thread, hashtag But Boys Moves looks like the build-up to a movie. Looks like a promo for a film of Daniel Madison's life. And then people getting really angry. So, what is moves? Come on, tell us already. The speculation's killing me. Come on, stop messing around. What the fuck is moves? We'll put a beep there. Literally. Yeah, yeah. Put a fucking beep on that fuck that I just said. So yeah, by the time that this goes out, Black Club will have an exclusive link. So if you're not part of Black Club, unfortunately you miss out on this. You're going to have to wait until the countdown timer stops. We don't know when that'll be. We don't know how generous we're going to be. But by the time you sort of finish watching this, Black Club will have an email in their inbox that allows them to purchase moves. So to kill any speculation, can you give us a sort of brief overview and super brief, oh my god, this is the reason why you absolutely need moves now? Like, what is moves?
Without giving away like the list and the things that are in it, it's based around that one concept that you mentioned earlier, the lecture thing, that we've got the gasps. So basically that lecture is being put into this project and it revolves around that concept. The concept. And this is I
was going to say, this isn't like, I don't know, more sort of teaching on the bottom deal, is it? This is a completely sort of brand new approach to something that they'll be able to...
I did touch upon the concept in Mechanic, but it was like a throwaway thing that there was no potential scene in it because I didn't make a big deal out of it, mainly because I wanted to keep it a secret, or the possibilities around it. So it was in there for eye candy, for the trailer mainly, and I didn't teach much on it. But that was the first place it was seen and it was overlooked, and I developed it so much more after that. So the main concept, so moves revolves around this one concept. There's loads of other stuff in there as well, loads of moves that I like, but the word moves comes from the sleight of hand techniques. So you don't say to a fellow artist, let me show you a sleight of hand technique. You say, oh, let me show you this move. So it's moves. So it's a collection of, there's 23 techniques in this project, and they all revolve or stem from this number one concept, this main concept. The teaching is like over an hour and a half long. I go into so much detail and so much depth into each different item and each different idea. That the teaching's so intricate, and I've spilled my guts on this one concept. So moves is pretty much that. I mean, without showing the trailer or kind of explaining each move for move, that's kind of as much as I can say, really. I mean, it's playing cards, it's me, it's studio shot, it looks good on film. I made sure it looked good and was easy to learn from. 23 different moves in there, and it's all sleight of hand moves. So you're not going to watch this and get 23 tricks. It's not about magic tricks. It's about sleight of hand techniques that you can take away. Like, for example, you can take one technique away and apply it to 10 different tricks. So you can make 10 different tricks from it. So if you're looking for tricks, you can take these moves, put them into tricks. If you're looking for difficult sleight of hand, new things to learn, then this is going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everyone on the team at E knows how much time and effort and everything you've put into this project. And I watched it. I actually watched the DVD, and it was, well, all the sort of project, and it was incredible. And one of the things I've actually sort of used today in a trick this morning on a friend of mine, sort of in a new idea, based off that same concept. So I think people are going to see this. They're going to see the sleights. This is for like people that want to learn some new, incredible sleight of hand, and they want to put the time and practice into it. But I think it'll also breed an entire community of people that are using it and then going off and creating their own tricks from it.
Yeah, it's like there's about 1,000 tricks that exist that when you read it, you figure out it's a double lift.
Yeah.
The mechanics was a double lift. The trick wasn't, but the mechanics was. This is the mechanics. So learn the move, apply it to whatever you want. You know.
This is the Madison double lift. This is your stamp. This is your equivalent to a classic sleight that can be reworked into hundreds of routines.
Yeah, and although it kind of revolves around that one sleight, there's so many other different things in there too that I've kind of kept secret and that I use a lot. That are somewhat difficult. Some moves are difficult, but that shouldn't, I don't know why I explained that they're difficult, but there are moves in there that revolve around this or stem from that one idea that the whole project is on. So people aren't just kind of investing in one concept. There's a ton of other things in there, and they all kind of revolve around that same idea of this is a technique, and now that you know it, go figure out for yourself the amount of
literally
things you can do.
23 different items. I mean, one of them, without giving it away, that color change is awesome, isn't it?
Oh, thank you.
Like mechanically beautiful as well. Like it's as fun to practice as it is to go and perform.
Thanks, man.
So for anyone watching the video now, below you should see a countdown clock, unless you're watching this afterwards. So there's a countdown on the moves page. You'll be able to see how many minutes or hours or days you've got left until moves goes on sale. But yeah, thanks for doing this, Dee. Thanks for being a part of it. Obviously, we didn't get through everything because it was hundreds, almost. Well, I think there was over 1,000 different entries.
And thank you to everybody who asked questions. It's really overwhelming, and I never take for granted the people that like show interest in things like this. It's really overwhelming, and we appreciate it more than anybody knows.
Yeah, massively. So yeah, thanks to everyone watching. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions and got involved, and to everyone that's about to buy moves. Any last sort of statements? Any last words for them?
Yeah, I mean, they can judge something based on. I mean, the trailer and the trailers is kind of the final point, the final decision-making thing where it's like watching a movie. You decide whether you watch it or not based on trailer and rumors and what your friends think of it. It's difficult to kind of express. people, you shouldn't just judge it based on the hype. Don't just buy into it or invest in it based on the hype. You know, this is everything that's in this project has been years and years of me figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And this one move in particular has been with me for such a long time that I've put so much into this project. So I've never cared so much about a project since. Well, I can't compare it, but yeah, a lot has gone into this project. So yeah, those who do buy it, I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get out of it what I hope you get out of it.
Awesome. And for anyone that needs to ask questions on moves, feel free to use the hashtags. Feel free to tweet us, post on our Instagram. Do you want to give a shout out? Obviously, everyone sort of can follow you on Instagram, can go to your Facebook page, can't they?
Yeah. I mean, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I do try and answer questions. I mainly stick to the Facebook page of Illusionists to answer questions. But yeah, I'm there. I'm online.
Awesome. Right, cheers, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, thank you, man.